In that nursing home where the days dragged on in heavy silence and the smell of disinfectant was her only companion. Sophie had one certainty. Her granddaughter, whom she loved and raised with all her being, had placed her there. But what Ashley didn't know, or perhaps had conveniently forgotten, was that memory at times hides in unexpected places. And that fate, with its peculiar irony, held a secret in a dusty diary that would not only reveal the truth of a lifetime, but would bring karma to light in a way no one could have predicted. What did Ashley truly do to her grandmother? And what did this diary hide that was powerful enough to change everything? Sophie had always been the bedrock of her family, a woman of unshakable values with a heart overflowing with loyalty and snack, and a dedication to work that built a modest but dignified legacy. Her days were woven with the thread of simplicity and uprightness. And she found her greatest joy in life's small pleasures: the smell of freshly brewed coffee in the morning, the sun warming the kitchen window, the sound of her granddaughter laughing in the yard. Since the early loss of her only daughter, Sophie had dedicated every fiber of her being to raising her granddaughter, Ashley. She gave her the missing love, education, comfort, and made every sacrifice so that Ashley could have a better life than her own. Extra hours, sewing, hard-earned savings, all for Ashley's studies so she wouldn't face the same difficulties her grandmother had. Ashley, for Sophie, was an extension of her own existence, the purpose of her days, the future of her family. It was for her that Sophie dreamed and lived, but old age arrived, treacherous and silent, like a fog slowly shrouding the landscape. With it, backaches became constant. Blurry vision turned letters into smudges, and memory, at times, insisted on playing tricks. Ashley, now an adult woman, successful in her career and with a busy social life, began to see her grandmother not as a treasure, but as a burden, a growing inconvenience in her always packed schedule. Sophie's unconditional love, once a safe harbor, seemed to have turned into a chain Ashley wanted to break. Ashley had been planning Sophie's institutionalization for some time, with a calculating coldness Sophie could never have imagined. She didn't act impulsively. She observed every lapse in her grandmother's memory, every difficulty with daily tasks, and meticulously documented them, using them as ammunition for her strategy. Ashley began isolating Sophie, making it difficult for her to talk to neighbors and friends. Phone calls from friends were missed. Visits were canceled with flimsy excuses about Sophie's fragile health. Slowly, she planted the seed of doubt about her grandmother's sanity in casual conversations with distant relatives, describing her as someone who forgot to take medication, left pots on the stove, or easily got lost. The goal was to create a narrative of mental fragility that would justify her next steps. The first concrete step was the manipulation of medical reports. Ashley researched clinics and doctors with less solid reputations, focusing on those who might be more flexible in their diagnoses. She scheduled an appointment for Sophie, presenting herself as the devoted, concerned granddaughter. In the doctor's office, Ashley omitted crucial information about Sophie's mental health history, or lack thereof, and dramatically exaggerated all of her grandmother's minor problems, painting a picture of severe cognitive deterioration. In private conversations with the doctor, away from Sophie's hearing, she didn't hesitate to offer a significant sum of money, a donation for the urgency and complexity of the case, in exchange for a report that would attest to Sophie's cognitive incapacity and the urgent need for care in a specialized institution. The doctor, succumbing to greed, drafted a superficial and biased report, without conducting in-depth examinations or a proper psychiatric evaluation. With this report in hand, Ashley sought a lawyer, She'd already researched professionals with questionable conduct, those willing to bend ethics for profit. To Gregory, Ashley presented a distorted version of the situation, showing the fraudulent medical report as irrefutable proof of Sophie's incapacity. She not only promised but advanced a considerable portion of the house sales value in exchange for his services to formalize Sophie's interdiction and institutionalization, ensuring everything was done legally and without future challenges. Gregory, seeing an opportunity for a quick and easy gain, accepted the offer, not even questioning the truth of the facts or seeking a second medical opinion. He drafted the necessary documents based on the information provided by Ashley, sealing Sophie's fate with the coldness of someone who prioritizes profit over ethics. The final trigger came on a rainy afternoon, when Sophie, in a moment of confusion, left the gas on. A small oversight, understandable for someone her age, but one that Ashley exploited masterfully. With a disdainful look Sophie would never forget, a look that seemed to carry years of resentment and coldness, Ashley uttered the words that tore through her soul. "You're no longer good for anything, Grandma. You're a danger to yourself and others. This can't go on. You need to go somewhere where you can be truly cared for." Full those words, spoken with icy calm, were sharper than any knife. Sophie could barely keep up with Ashley, dragged out of her own home. Every step echoed the humiliation she felt. Every piece of furniture covered with white sheets seemed to scream goodbye. The smell of gasoline mixed with the scent of old books and dusty furniture filled her nostrils as Ashley emptied the cupboards, throwing away years of memories as if they were trash. Boxes upon boxes of her life were piled carelessly. "Oh, this is junk, Grandma. I don't need any of it," Ashley said, without a shred of remorse. Tears continued to stream down her face, but now they weren't just from grief. They were also from indignation and a silent fury, a premonition that something much bigger was at stake. Something she couldn't decipher, but that coiled within her soul like a serpent. What was Ashley truly hiding? Ashley, cold and calculating, acted like a snake, coiling around her life, slowly suffocating her. She convinced doctors that Sophie was senile, manipulated reports, forged documents, and, with a cynical smile on her lips, signed her admission to the Peaceful Haven nursing home. Sophie, amidst the haze of her confusion and pain, heard Ashley whisper on the phone, "Yes, everything's set. The house is empty now. The buyer will be here tomorrow." As Sophie was led to a tiny room with a hard bed and cold white walls, Ashley sold her grandmother's house, the home of a lifetime, and used the money to fund her luxurious lifestyle, travels, and a new apartment in the city's most exclusive area. Ashley's malice seemed limitless, and her cunning made her untouchable. Would Sophie simply be another victim of her granddaughter's schemes? Or was there a piece Ashley hadn't considered in her plan? Months passed in the nursing home, and Sophie wasted away. The nights were long, filled with the whispers of other residents and the loneliness that gnawed at her soul. The days were monotonous, and the feeling of helplessness was overwhelming. She felt her life slipping through her fingers, her story being erased, distorted by those who should have protected her. But then, on a tedious day, while tidying some old belongings that had been dumped from her former home, something unexpected happened. One of the boxes, tossed into a corner, seemed untouched since its arrival. With a weary sigh, Sophie began to rummage through it. Among old clothes and dusty books, a small object with a worn leather cover fell to the floor, making a muffled sound. Sophie immediately recognized it. It was her diary, the one where she recorded thoughts, secrets, and, most importantly, her love and affection for her daughter and, later, for her granddaughter. Years of notes were there, dates of important events, Detailed conversations. Feelings expressed in trembling but legible handwriting dot as she leafed through the yellowed pages. A glimmer of hope ignited in her chest. In those lines, she remembered every moment, every sacrifice, every pain, and every joy. And a certainty flooded her being, like a ray of sunshine breaking through the clouds. She was not senile. The dates, the meticulous details, the clarity of her memories recorded there were irrefutable proof. But how would she use this proof? How would she get this diary out of the nursing home? It was there, in that small room, lit only by the faint light from the window, that Sophie made a decision. She would not surrender to despair. She would fight for justice, for truth, and for the dignity of her own story. The spark of hope had transformed into a blazing flame of resilience, fueled not only by her own will but by a larger mystery that diary seemed to hold. Sophie's journey was not easy. The challenges were immense. The staff's distrust in the nursing home, the rigid control of mail, and her own physical fragility were colossal obstacles. Ashley, upon learning that her grandmother had found some old papers as she downplayed them, tried to intercept correspondence, discredit her grandmother, and even threatened the nursing home staff to prevent them from helping. It's my grandmother. Has delusions. Anything she says is an old woman's fantasy. Ashley spread like subtle poison. But the universe, in its infinite wisdom, conspires in favor of the righteous. And the knots of lies, however tight they may seem, eventually unravel. It was in the nursing home that Sophie found unexpected support. Claire, a lucid and observant elderly woman who was her roommate, recognized Sophie's lucidity and the blatant injustice in her story. Claire, a former history teacher, had a sharp eye for truth and unwavering patience. She became Sophie's confidant, listening to her stories and reading excerpts from the diary, confirming every detail. And there was Dr. Mendez, a young, newly arrived doctor with a kind heart and an unshakable sense of ethics. He noticed the determination in Sophie's eyes, the clarity in her conversations, something that did not align with the reports presented by Ashley. A nagging doubt settled in his mind. Why did the granddaughter seem so evasive about her grandmother's history? Dr. Mendez's intuition led him to a discreet investigation. Claire became Sophie's bridge to the outside world. With firm, discreet handwriting, she helped her grandmother record the facts, organize the diary's memories, and send letters to lawyers and even to the press, hidden inside books leaving the nursing home. Dr. Mendez, in turn, began to conduct his own examinations and investigations, confronting the reports forged by Ashley, which he realized were strangely incomplete and full of gaps. Plot twists emerged every day, weaving a complex web of truths and lies. Sophie's diary not only proved her sanity and Ashley's coldness, but revealed an even more explosive secret: details about her daughter's life and Ashley's own father, a man Ashley had kept hidden under lock and key, and who could ruin not only her reputation, but her inheritance. A specific name, date, and location caught Sophie's attention in the diary: an old joint bank account belonging to her deceased daughter and an unknown man whom Ashley had never mentioned. Was there a financial mystery behind all this cruelty? Sophie's faith in justice, inner wisdom, and inner strength kept her steadfast. She refused to be a victim, to accept that imposed fate. With every small step forward, every door that opened, Sophie saw the manifestation of hope's power, a certainty that the truth, however deeply buried, would find its way out, and that the universe in its cosmic dance was beginning to move in her favor. Justice, though delayed, arrived. The revelations from Sophie's diary, its Combined with the meticulously collected evidence by Dr. Mendez, which included testimonies from neighbors of calls, Sophie's old house, and records of suspicious financial transactions by Ashley, and the growing pressure from the press, now fiercely investigating the case, exposed Ashley. The legal process was swift and unyielding. Ashley was charged with fraud, forgery, abandonment of an incapacitated person, and, to everyone's horror, embezzlement. The old joint bank account belonging to Ashley's father and Sophie's daughter had been emptied by Ashley shortly after her mother's death, revealing a carefully orchestrated inheritance theft plan spanning years. Karma, with its invisible hand, struck Ashley where it hurt most: her reputation, her fortune, and finally her freedom. Her assets were frozen, including the luxurious apartment she had bought with the proceeds from Sophie's house. Her career crumbled, and the society she so valued turned its back on her, scandalized. The lawyer Gregory, whom Ashley had bribed to forge the documents, was also caught in his own trap, having his license revoked and facing charges. The punishment was satisfying, a vivid reminder that evil, however it lurks and disguises itself, always meets its end. And Ashley's end was a cruel echo of her own cruelty. Isolated and with her life dismantled, Sophie not only overcame adversity, she reborn in a way she never imagined. The nursing home, which was once a prison, became a place of support, where she was admired and respected. Dr. Mendez became a great friend and advocate. Claire, the loyal friend, a sister of the soul. Sophie didn't return to her old house. She sold it and donated part of the money to the nursing home for improvements and to help other elderly people in similar situations. With the rest, she and Claire bought a small, cozy house with a garden where they spent their days planting flowers and telling stories. And Dr. Mendez would sometimes come for tea, bringing news and smiles. Sophie rediscovered happiness, a new love for life, and an even greater purpose. She became a voice for the elderly, an activist against abuse and neglect, using her story to inspire others not to give up on their truth and to believe in universal justice. She proved that age is not a limit to strength, wisdom, and the ability to reinvent one's existence. The voice of experience and the wire of overcoming. Sophie's story is a powerful reminder that true strength lies not in youth, fortune, or social status, but in the unshakable resilience of the human spirit. It shows us that even when darkness seems to engulf us, when betrayal strikes us hardest, there is always a spark of hope, a light to guide us. Life, with its twists and turns and surprises, teaches us that karma, universal justice, acts in its own time and in its own way, and that the truth, however deeply hidden, always finds a way to come to light. What would you do if you were in Sophie's shoes? Have you ever witnessed or experienced a situation where justice prevailed unexpectedly? Share your reflections and your own experiences in the comments below. If this story touched your heart and inspired you to believe in inner strength and justice, click like, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next inspiring stories that bring messages of hope and strength. A warm embrace, and see you in the next inspiring